modifiers. So modifiers are reserved keywords. So when you add these reserved keywords, the meaning will change for that entity. That's the modifiers means. Modifiers are two types. So non-access modifiers and access modifiers. So non-access modifiers doesn't control access level, but provides other functionality. And these are the non-access modifier keywords: final, static, abstract, volatile, and transient. These are the non-access modifier keywords. So this doesn't provide any permissions, access level, visibility, they won't talk. But other one, access modifiers, the second part is very crucial in the entire programming. Access modifiers in Java helps to restrict the scope of a class, constructor, variable, method, or a data member. So here variable or data member both are same. Okay, so it will restrict the scope, that means visibility, where you can use, where you cannot use. That visibility is controlled by these access modifiers. So there are four types of access modifiers we have: default or package, we call this; private, protected, public. These are the four access modifiers are there. So what is public? Let's discuss first to public one. How you can use public access modifier is use the keyword public keyword. So the public access modifier is specified using public keyword. So the public access modifier has the widest scope among all other access modifiers. Basically, this will provide huge scope and visibility in all the project, entire project. So where you can apply this public access modifier, you can use for classes, methods, or data members and constructors that are declared as a public. All these four you can declare as a public. What are all the things you can declare as a public? Classes you can declare as a public. Methods you can declare as a public. Data members you can declare as a public. Constructors you can declare as a public. So if you declare these things as a public, those can be accessible from anywhere in the program. Anywhere you can access them. That's a wider scope it is going to give for that class, method, variable, and constructor. So there is no restriction on the scope of public data members or public classes, public methods, public constructors. So that's the. Can you mute? Okay. So that's all about public. So where you can use public keyword for the classes, methods, constructors, and data members. On these four areas, you can declare them as a public. So when you declare them as a public, then you can access those members from anywhere. There is no restriction on the scope of public data members, public classes, public methods, public constructors. If you create, there is no restriction on the entities. Basically, see, when I create a public class, so this class name is hello. So this hello class I can use anywhere because of public access modifier. This public will give you more permissions for this class. Anybody can access. The same way, variable. This is the variable int data. I'm storing 10 data in the I variable. So, and that access modifier we have given public. That's why this I you can access anywhere. No restriction on that. Same way, method, public static void M1. So this M1 method you can access anywhere because the access modifier public is there. So this is very clearly telling classes, methods, data members, and constructors that are declared as public are accessible from anywhere in the program. So this one line you understand. So anywhere in the program you can access them. No restriction on the package wise, class wise. If the public access modifier is there, those things are accessible anywhere. And you can apply this public keyword on these 4 areas. For class you can use, for data member or variable you can use, methods you can declare as a public, constructor also you can declare as a public. All 4 you can declare as a public. If you declare them as a public, you can access them from anywhere in the entire project. So in this entire project, even you can call here also, you can call in this package also, anywhere if it is a public. No restriction applies. Basically visibility is everywhere. So that's the this public access modifier means. Second one, default or a package. So default or a package, when no access modifier is specified for a class, method, or data member and constructor, it is said to be having the default access modifier by default. So don't use any modifier keyword. So don't specify any modifier keyword, just blank. So then that will be treated as a default access modifier. So the data members, class, or methods and constructors which are not declared using any access modifier, having default access modifier, are accessible only within the same package. For example, I created a default class here. So I can use only in this package only. In this package only I can use. I cannot use in another packages. That is the default or package access modifier means. So what is the, how you can differentiate public? So there is a public keyword to represent the public access modifier. But is there any keyword for a default or package to represent? No, nothing. Just a blank. See, like that, if you create like this, I'm creating a public class, default class. How you can create a class? Right click on the package, new class. So then you select here package radio button. So I can say default test. So I can select the main method is by default public, that we cannot change. See, my class is a default here. So no modifier keyword. That's the default class. The class name is a default test. But what is the access modifier here? Class keyword before, nothing is there. That is called a default. No modifier keyword. Read very, very clearly. When no access modifier is specified for a class, see, we didn't specify any modifier keyword. That is treated as a default. And method also, for method also, if you don't specify anything, for example, I want to create a method. See, I can create a method here. In the main method below, I'm writing another method. So this is the default method. See, there is no modifier keyword here. Generally, it should be a modifier keyword here, static keyword before. Here you have, right? Public you have. But same place, you should have some modifier keyword. But if you are not using any modifier keyword, that will be treated as a default access modifier. Here class is a default, method is a default. Where you can access them in the same package only you can access in another classes, but not outside the packages. Here you cannot use. So the scope is reduced per package only. So the scope is reduced and the visibility is reduced only per that package only. That is called default access modifier. See, I created a class test. So there is no modifier keyword. That's why immediately you can say it is a default class. See, I'm using a default access modifier variables. So access modifier, see, I am making it a blank. Immediately I'm writing static keyword. So that means this I left blank. So I'm not using any modifier keyword. Then that is treated as a default variable. See, default variable, this one. Even so, this is also default variable. See, directly we're writing the data type, float data. So default static methods. Yeah, just now I have written, right? Same. So these are all default variables, default methods, default class. So all this, if you make without any modifier keyword, that will be treated as a default. So default access modifier, where it is accessible within the same package in any class. Same package in any class. So a package means, I told you, many classes, right? A package means many classes. Like this is the one class, this is another class. You can create n number of classes under one package. So the default class, the default methods, default variables, you can access. This is the default variable. So default static variable. No modifier keyword, no access modifiers here. Here also no access. For class, no modifier. For variable also no modifier. For method also no modifier. Then this will be treated as a default method, default variable, default class. Where you can access them in the same package. What is this package? This default test class package. Basic programs package. In this package only you can use them. In another classes, all the other classes you can use only in this package. But can I use in the method programs this default class? No. Can I use this I in the method programs package class? No. Can I use this M2 in the method programs package? No. But can I use here in this class? Yes, you can use, because default test also here in the same package. This my first Eclipse program also in the same package. That's why you can use in the same package class. It is visible. You can use them. That's a default means. Are we good? Any questions here before going for a private? Okay, let's move on. Private. The private access modifier is specified using keyword private keyword. So only methods and data members constructors are declared as a private. So this, when you declare a methods, data members and constructors declared as a private are accessible only within the class in which they are declared. Same class only can access. See, the scope is completely stopped. For other classes, it is not visible. Private method is not visible. Private variable is not visible in another class. Private constructor is not visible in another class. So private means completely privacy. Stops the complete visibility for other classes. That's a private means. So any other class of same package will not be accessible to access these members. See, for example, if I create a private in this, suppose I created a private variable here. So private static int x equal to 30. So this you cannot access in another class. Why? Because private. So the scope is completely reduced to per class only. So only top level classes interfaces cannot be declared as a private. Your class cannot be private and protected. So private and protected are not applicable for the classes and interfaces. Only those are visible for, so private is visible within the same class only. You cannot use outside the class. That's a private means. So protected is, so I'm going to discuss about protected, right? I'm going to discuss here. A private static int I, private static int void M2. These I M2 you can use in the test1 class only, not outside the class. That's a private means completely privacy, not visible for others. So that's the private access modifier means. Can I use for class this private? No. Can I use protected for the class? No. For class only applicable keywords are public one and default. These two only applicable per class. So that is also important. So protected, the protected access modifier is specified using protected keyword. So you can apply this protected, you can declare methods, data members and constructors, you can declare as a protected. But when you declare protected, those are accessible within the same package or subclasses in the different packages. Subclasses in the different packages you can access. Subclasses means I'll tell you the child and parent classes. One package parent class is going to be other class. So child class, you can extend. Child class extends to parent class. Such kind of scenarios, this protected method, protected variable, protected constructor can be accessible there. Otherwise, directly not accessible. Again, same as a default. Within the same package, you can access. But outside package, if you want to access, you have to apply inheritance whoops concept. Inheritance whoops concept, child and parent. So the class can be a parent and one child class. In the child class, that is called subclass. You can access parent class, protected methods, protected variables, protected constructors. But class cannot be a protected. Again, remember, class cannot be a protected. So these are all the access modifiers. So I have given very detailed table here. You can just see that. So private, within the class only you can access. That's why yes. Within the package, no, not accessible. Private members, if you declare any method, variable and constructor as a private, those are accessible within the class only, not accessible within the package in another class. Outside package, no, not accessible. Outside package, subclasses, no. No visibility for the private. Only within the class only, those are visible. Next, default. So default within the class, accessible. Any default member, default class, default method, default variable, default constructor, within the class, you can access same class anywhere. Within the package, yes, you can access. Outside package by subclass, no, not accessible. Because the default means within the package only you can access, right? Within the class you can access, but not outside the package. That's a default means. Outside package, not at all possible, not at all visible default. Protected, within the class, accessible. Within the package, accessible. Outside package by subclass. That means inheritance, if you apply, then it is accessible. Protected method, protected variable, protected constructor. Outside package in the subclass. Subclass means you have to apply inheritance. Child class extends parent class. That is called inheritance. If you apply inheritance, then one package protected members you can access in another package class. Outside package protected, not directly not accessible. Protected members directly not accessible outside package. Public, everywhere. You can access everywhere, no restriction on that. So that's the whole access modifiers, very, very important concept. Okay, class we covered already. Class is a template or blueprint. Class is used to create object. These are the class members, methods, variables, constructors, and blocks. Class is a logical entity, and the class structure is access modifier. Just now I have given access modifiers 4 types. So, but in that for class, only 2 access modifiers are accessible, are applicable. One is public, another one is default. So private and protected is not used for the class. So that I clearly mentioned that. So all this will be there inside the class. This is the class structure. So I created a public class. The class naming conventions, we covered already this. So default class. Default means no modifier keyword. So class inside all these members will be there. So class keyword tells it is a Java class. This is the class keyword, right? This is a class keyword. So how can you recognize your class name? Class keyword after whatever is there, that's your class name. How can you recognize if I ask what is your class name, current class name? So where you need to look for that class keyword after your class name will be there. That's a class name, how to recognize. And so the naming conventions I already told you. If a class name contains one word, first letter should be in uppercase and remaining letters are in lowercase. See? Yes, capital, remaining are lowercase. That's how to give a class name. So if a class name contains more than one word, every word first letter should be in uppercase, remaining letters are in lowercase. So see, every word, there are 3 words are here. See, every word first letter is in capital letter. S, W, and D. These are capital letters. But remaining letters are in lowercase. So this is how to write the class name. Anywhere, if you're creating a class, you need to remember this rule 1 and rule 2. So mandatory. If it is a one word, you follow this rule. If it is a more than one word, follow this rule. So that's all about class. And class name after the curly bracket will start. And this is the class beginning and should end with the end curly bracket. Should have at least one member. So in the class. That's all for today. Any questions?